Right, now, we are asking, should the driver that drove into those eco-protesters yesterday be arrested? 0207 862 2222 is that number, so please do give us a call. Just Stop Oil tried to block a coach carrying men to the Bibby Stockholm barge yesterday, and this is what happened. Let's have a quick look.
Stop! As if you sit down in front of it, if you sit down in front of it, sit down in front of it. Stop! 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 What are you doing? Stop! Stop! Stop!
Ouch. Now, Just Stop Oil have said they were unable to halt the vehicle carrying the men as the driver rammed through their blockade, which put the protesters at risk of being killed. This is their words, not mine. The government is forcing asylum seekers to return to the barge in Dorset 2 months after it was evacuated when Legionella bacteria were discovered in the water supply. So what do you think, though? This is your opinion that counts on this show. Should the driver be arrested for driving into them or not? Now, Ali, we'll come to you first on this one. We've just seen the footage. It looks very dramatic. So Just Stop Oil saying that driver should be arrested. What do you make of that?
I think Just Stop Oil protesters should be arrested for stopping the barge. And in fact, I'm a little bit confused because this was people being moved to the Bibby Stockholm. I thought Just Stop Oil was an eco-protest group. Is this because they were bored, there was nowhere to protest that day? I mean, were they looking for a protest?
They say that those two things are interlinked because climate change will displace people, and so that's why they're there. But I don't always agree. I do not always agree with their tactics at all, but you cannot drive a bus into human beings, regardless of the dynamic. It is an offence.
But you shouldn't superglue yourself to the pavement either, or slow march down the Cromwell Road either.
And yet people do. But we can't set a precedent where you can justify, oh, I don't like those protesters, so I can run over them with a bus.
I mean, look, you would have thought that the police now, under the new powers they've been given under the Public Order Act, to stop locking on, to stop the kind of ridiculous thing that happened on the Dartford crossing where they were climbing and scaling up, and they got, I think one got 3 years, one got 2 years,
yes.
7 months. So the law, the judges are becoming tougher. I think that's right. You can't also have people climbing gantries on the M25, stopping people getting their kids to school, getting to work, getting to hospital. But look, I do have sympathy with this driver. He's obviously clearly frustrated. They don't have to stand in the way. They could just move out of the way.
Right, OK, let's find out what they were actually doing by talking to someone who represents Just Stop Oil, wasn't actually at the protest yesterday. Grahame is joining us right now. Grahame, good morning. Thank you very much for joining. Good afternoon, actually. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Grahame, the first obvious question to ask is, Just Stop Oil, OK, we're used to your protest now. What were you doing trying to stop people getting to the Bibby Stockholm? What was the reasoning behind this one?
Can I just address something that Ali said? We are not calling for the driver to be arrested.
Right.
It's a police decision. We would not press charges in that case at all. But the real dangerous drivers here is our government, who is driving us down the road to a climate hell.
Right, OK, but...
the climate crisis, the reason why we're doing this, you asked that question, the reason why we're doing this is that climate chaos will bring wars and it will bring refugees, and we're in solidarity with those refugees.
Right, Grahame, but why all of a sudden have you suddenly started targeting the immigration problem we have in this country? It's been going on for quite a while now. Why suddenly is a Bibby Stockholm so important to you?
We've been talking about climate refugees for some considerable time. This isn't new. We've been saying for a long time, making it clear that the consequences of the climate crisis will be refugees, and those people have to have somewhere to go.
But why?
I mean, let's look at this. Let's look at this let's be clear about this. And where we're heading at the moment, we will see 1 billion refugees. That's about 1 in 7, 1 in 8 of the global population. Where will they go? So we are in solidarity.
Great, Grahame. I'm not disputing that, but I'm just curious to find an answer as to why suddenly now the Bibby Stockholm has been an ongoing debate since August when it arrived in this country. Why didn't you blockade, people being taken to the barge then? Why now? Why is now so important? Is it, as Ali maybe sort of implied, that you're just protesting for protesting's sake?
Oh, that's an insulting observation from Ali there. That's obviously not
I'm
true.
paraphrasing what Ali and
Well, can I just say that Graham makes a very important point, and here I agree with Graham, that climate change is going to lead to a lot of displacement of people. So I agree with Graham on that. All I take exception to is people actually being prevented from going about their business. This driver was trying to actually move these asylum seekers to the Bibi Stockholm, which is, and the other thing I think I wanted to just ask Graham is that, Graham, look, I'm on board with you about stopping oil and gas exploration in the long term. The problem is in the short term, if you stop these licences, we took 19.3 billion in from pretty hostile regimes, including Saudi Arabia and Qatar, where people were protesting against the World Cup, but still we take their oil and gas.
Okay,
I'll say something about that briefly. I used to work for Shell. I was a principal scientist at Shell, and what you're saying is complete rubbish. The government's long-term plan is to import gas in vast volumes. So let's stop not having that kind of ridiculous and, I'm afraid, wrong observation.
Graham, sorry.
Look, Bibi Stockholm is a prison ship. Look, shall I tell a personal story?
But they are free to come and go. Graham, I've just got one. Graham, unfortunately, we are running out of time.
Very quickly, I have refugees staying in my house. None of them want to be here.
No, I'm sure.
None of them want to be here. They are here because of wars, and a lot of those wars in the future are going to be due to the climate. We have to take this seriously. We have to show some humanity. Imagine it was your children.
Graham, I've just got one very, very quick final question that a lot of our people have our viewers have messaged in today. You are saying that the driver had an intent to kill your protesters, but surely you were putting lives in danger first by illegally being on the public highway.
I don't think that if you drive into people, there is the possibility you will kill them, isn't there?
But you were breaking the law and being on the highway. If you weren't there, you wouldn't have got killed.
Yeah, exactly.
I think, as Terry was saying, that doesn't give him the right to kill people or to run people over.
Fine.
We would not press charges against that driver. Our complaint is against the government.
Right, OK. Graham, unfortunately, we have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your time. That's Dr. Grahame Buss, who is basically a Just Stop Oil campaigner. Thank you very much for joining us. Wow, OK, it's a very fierce debate. We've had lots and lots of comments from you online already on this one. Not entirely supportive, I have to say. So let's go to our callers now and see what you've got to say. We're going to Steve in London first. Good afternoon, Steve. What would you like to say?
Hello.
Hello, Steve. You're through. What would you like to say?
Good morning. Well, good afternoon, and panel. I think it's absolutely ridiculous them standing in front of coaches, lorries. You know, they're absolutely insane.
The Just Stop Oil protesters are absolutely insane.
Yeah. You know, they're putting themselves in harm's way. The drivers, they've got a job to do. Just get out of the way.
You don't think the driver should face any punishment whatsoever?
No, absolutely not.
Fine.
They want to climb on the M25 or the M6, then they should, or in front of coaches and stuff. The protesters should be arrested, not the driver.
Well, they were breaking the law. Actually, there is a law against that. So, Steve, thank you very much. So many calls to get in, so we're moving swiftly on. Robert, in Belfast, Robert, what would you like to say? Should the driver be punished in some way for his behaviour?
Good afternoon. Rightly so. I'm a taxi driver, and many protests I've seen around Belfast City. You just, you don't like the protest. You're not getting into the rights and the wrongs of a protest, but you're not going to drive into people. If you've got that in your mindset, you're stressed up. There's something radically wrong with you. It's reckless driving. You should be immediately arrested, and your licence should be taken off you. Well, it's a bus driver, car driver, taxi driver, or whoever the case may be. It's pure madness doing that. You mightn't like to see what's in front of you, but you stop. You don't drive into people.
Right, OK, so you think the driver should have stopped and let the protest continue?
100%. It's between the protesters and the authorities, what they're going to do about it, the rights and the wrongs of it. But you, as a driver, It's ludicrous that you're going to drive into people.
Robert, can I
Pure
just
madness.
ask you? Can I just ask you? Remember that lady who was in her Range Rover taking her kids to school, who was trying to nudge protesters,
In
get them out of the
Essex,
way?
yes.
Which she was really exasperated about the fact that her kids could not get an education, another day off school, when they've already been suffering through COVID. Do you think that it was justified that she was trying to nudge them out of the way, and then they bleated and went to the law, and then she got 20 days community service? Do you think that that's actually fair?
The rights and the wrongs of the permit, health and safety is more important. Are you going to drive over somebody just to prove a point because your kids are going to lose a day's education?
I think our kids' education for a day is actually more important than those protesters.
I didn't talk across you, friend. Truthfully, are you really serious to say that that lady was right? Are you really saying that?
To be fair, we have so many calls. We have to move on. Unfortunately, she was charged with dangerous driving, which she admitted. So there was a criminal action taken there. Thank you very much for that call, Robert. Very interesting point. Right, Brenda in Wiltshire. What do you think, Brenda? Should there be some kind of action against the coach driver, or should there be action against Just Stop Oil?
No, I think the bus driver was in right. He was doing his job. And I think the protesters, they should be arrested because they're obstructing highways.
Which is illegal. Yes, they could have been arrested.
But Brenda, if there was someone outside my house in the morning and they were really annoying me and they were getting in the way of the school run, do I have a right to just knock them out of the way with my car because they're getting in the way of my kids' education? It's a slippery slope, and if we set that precedent where if someone's annoying you or getting in the way of your human rights, you can just mow them down with your vehicle. It's such a grey area. It has to be black and white. You cannot run someone over with your vehicle. A body versus steel.
You're talking nonsense. He didn't run anybody over, and he was doing his job. And if the protesters want to get in the way, so be it.
Okay.
And the other thing is, what I'd like to say, why have these protesters not got a job? If they had a job, they wouldn't have time to cause all the stress they do.
It's a very fair point, Brenda. Thank you very much for your call. We are moving on, as there's so many want to get involved in this one, to Mark. Mark, you're in Kent. What would you like to say, Mark?
I agree with Brenda, what she just said. These protesters make me laugh, They're actually protesting about just stop oil, and they're saying it's the government's got to do something. But that guy is obviously doing his job, taking them refugees, immigrants, whatever you want to like to call it, to a centre, and they're trying to stop him. I'd actually like to ask some of them like that. They all go out there protesting, but does any of them put up any of the illegal immigrants in their house? Does anyone house refugees in their house? No, they don't.
To be fair, we did hear from Grahame Bus earlier, and he did say he was housing refugees as well. Right, thank you, Mark, for that call, and thank you for all your calls on this. So many want to get involved, but you can still do it online, remember. After the break, are the police to blame for the rise in shoplifting? With